3, 2, 1, let's go! I'm the host of the EV Podcast, Troy
Start your engines.
Sitting down at Microseismic Inc. 2023. We're on the razor's edge of technology and new ideas. And there's an old saying that says, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. So that's where we are. We're riding that razor's edge of technology. We're at Image, where the SEG, the AAPG, SCPM, we're all coming together. And we're talking about these new ideas. We're talking about the technologies applied in geoscience to make a difference. Sir, introduce yourself. Let's get started with your story.
Perfect. Okay, well, my name is Gary Hargraves, and I just finished my first year here at Microseismic as the president and chief operating officer.
Nice.
Which means I wear two hats. One is to help out with the vision and the strategy and the roadmap.
Is that the president's role?
That's the president's role. And the chief operating role is to figure out and help on a day-to-day basis to execute on that plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty tough. I've never sat down with a COO, chief operating officer. I mean, you got to think about the team you have, their abilities, their strengths, their weaknesses. How are you integrating all that? I mean, for your first year at Microseismic, how much did you know about the idea of listening to small seismic events that are way smaller than like earthquakes? How much did you know about that before you took on this job? How much do you know about it now?
Well, I had to look up what microseismic was. So my background is the first 23 years of my professional career, I was in the tech consulting business.
Wow.
So I worked for companies like IBM and HP. But I spent a lot of time in digital and emerging technologies.
Okay.
So AI, blockchain, data science.
Data, right.
Projects like that, right?
Yep.
And the last 10 years was really for industrial clients.
Oh, okay.
So oil and gas, mining, metals.
Okay. So
clients like that. Okay. So I had built data products for the oil and gas industry and in the upstream business, but I had never heard of Microseismic as a company or capability.
Well, right? It didn't scare you. That's one thing for sure. You all right, Microseismic has an insane amount of data that comes really fast.
Yes.
Right? And when we're doing this in real time and you're seeing all these events happening, it is kind of scary to think about that. But for you, you're like, that's nothing. You know how to handle that.
Exactly. So it's funny. When I came here, I had never heard anybody talk about Microseismic as a data and IoT company, which at its core
is what it is.
That's what it is, right? And in my role in consulting, I had these digital charters within the companies that I work for, and I would go to IoT conferences, and I never saw Microseismic there.
Wow.
And this is one of the most sophisticated and resilient IoT companies in the world, right? We've been in business for 20 years acquiring data from all over the world. We were IoT before it was IoT, right?
You created IoT.
Yeah.
That's the reason the acronym exists?
Yes.
Man, that's pretty cool. So let's rock it way back. Where are you from?
I grew up in Liberty, Texas, which is about 40 miles that way.
Is this north? That's,
yeah. So small town, Liberty, Texas.
Texas, huh?
Went to Texas A&M. Is
that right?
I got out of high school.
Wow.
Spent too many years there, but I was getting my degree in MIS.
Which is?
It's kind of like a light version of computer science.
Okay.
Right? And I actually spent my first summer internship as a roustabout.
Really?
Working off the coast of Louisiana.
Really?
And I decided at that point I wanted to look into computers, and I thought maybe that would be a better fit for me at the time. My dad and all my family and everybody around me were all in the oil and gas industry. So I was the first one to kind of branch out and do something that wasn't blue-collar oil and gas.
No kidding. Your dad, grandpa, and all your family were drilling wells and bringing fluid to the tanks.
things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
My dad was more in the pipeline business, so
Okay.
he had a pipeline services company here in the Houston area, and but my uncle worked in the refineries in Baytown, and
Wow.
like it's in the blood. But
Yeah. But you saw that. Nah, you know what? Maybe like you can use your brain for money just as much as.
wow, yeah. I mean, I like to
hands.
think they do too, but I made the right choice for me, for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Man, cool. So you get into the IT business, you go through that, down that rabbit hole, you start learning how all this data gets understood by software and technologies. Mr.
Howdy, there he is, the man, the myth, and the legend. It's a nice jacket.
Yeah, no, he's he's ready for the show. So back to the question, the idea that you can kind of, you get all this data, it gets collected, it gets made every day. There's passive monitoring, there's specific monitoring that gets set up and demobes and mobes to new areas, and it's all date and time, and it's integrated in some way or another, certainly with microseismic stuff. You figured out, or you started, like your consulting years are creating softwares that can attach to something like that and make sense of it? Is that basically what you specialized in for all those years?
That's a good way to look at it. I mean, at the end of the day, in the consulting business, you're just solving problems.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, I spent a good amount of time, my first 10 years, in other industries outside of oil and gas.
Right.
So my first 3 years was a new client and a new project every 3 to 6 months, and a new technology.
Whoa.
So you're constantly kind of iterating through. So telcos and banks and airlines and just these different kind of quick projects where you're building something, right? And then I got into the retail industry, and I worked what we call, in today's terms, a digital transformation project, right? So it was multi-year, multi-tower technologies with a team of about 300 people.
Whoa.
Over that amount of time, right? So that, I kind of learned how to figure out technology and people and process and really deliver an outcome that mattered to a very large organization,
wow.
right?
So
this was the largest C-store in the world at the time.
Whoa. So that's like your true introduction to the COO that you are? Like you
in
really,
a sense, right? I mean, it's a supply chain issue when you're running a project like that, right? What kind of people do you need? When there's a it's a schedule that you're working off of, and there's the whole P&L aspect of it, and working within a budget, and kind of thing. But from there, the next kind of big industry that I went into was the airline industry.
Jeez.
And so I always prided myself in understanding what are the metrics that drive an industry, right? So in retail, especially in the convenience store, it's all about location and having the right product at the right price, at the right time, on the right shelf.
Jeez.
All of that, right?
Yeah.
So it's an optimization problem. And then in the airlines, I was involved in 2 mergers and acquisitions. So when American Airlines and U.S. Air, when they merged, I was part of a team there, but the one that I was most tenured on was when Southwest Airlines merged with AirTran.
Wow.
These are large companies, and you have to take note of the culture of those organizations and how that's going to work, and think through that. But then there's this technical integrations of the key systems. And the retail have their POS systems and certain key systems. The airlines have their reservation and network operation systems and scheduling systems. Those are key and critical to that airline.
Wow.
And understanding how that reservation system and that network scheduling system and the maintenance systems, those 3 systems work together. That's an optimization problem once again, right?
Yeah.
And now over in the oil and gas industry, you have 3 segments: upstream, midstream, downstream.
Right.
But each one of those is an optimization challenge in itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess everything is.
They're all trying to do the same thing: increase revenue reduce costs,
Yep.
and take a product, which is crude or gas,
Yep.
from its source and market and sell it
Right.
to a destination.
Right.
And that's all an optimization challenge.
So optimization.
So that's what I was used to.
Right. You're identifying the bigger things trying to come together based on some kind of data inputs that are happening out on these instruments or out in people that are recording things that are happening, boots
Yeah.
on the ground.
Yeah.
You're taking that information, which is cloudy in itself, and it's forming something bigger that's going into the optimization of the business. How does an AI actually? How do you explain that to somebody? Like elevator pitch. What is AI when you're thinking about data acquisition, QCing, and it delivering a product? What is AI doing there?
So I just look at AI as just another tool in the toolbox.
Okay.
It's kind of the next version of automation,
Right.
in a process, right?
Right.
I mean, throughout history, technology has always been an enabler to transform lives, transform industries, right? There's many examples. We went from the Industrial Revolution, where machines became the norm, and people were able to go do other things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what AI is today. There's a lot of what I consider commodity work, where you're kind of doing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
Well, that's where AI is going to have the most impact at scale and the quickest.
Wow.
Where if it's a repeatable process that you're doing over and over and over, AI is going to
Handle that.
right handle that, which really allows people to do what we are best at, which is being unique and special.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. There's only one me. There's only one you.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes on in the background that's kind of similar and the same.
Yeah.
That's where AI comes in and helps.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Take that over.
I was always, because as a geologist, we go out to the outcrop, we find these rocks that are at the surface, and that starts telling us about this bigger story and this bigger understanding of things. And if you don't have someone that can identify mineralogy out in outcrop well and figure out where the structures are, like if you don't have that unique geologist with that skill set,
right,
then you're just blindly grabbing rocks and getting data, and then the data crams into something that's trying to make sense of it with no direction, with no guidance. So we can be much better boots on the ground, collecting the data, finding the unique individuals who are really good at identifying those patterns, their natural abilities of the human, let the human brain really do that. Optimize the in-between, collecting the data, organizing the data, how it's do the linear regressions, compartmentalizations, all that stuff is, computers should drive that, but you get the step right up front, and then you get someone who can manage that. How do you optimize it now? You get the human to come in there, do what you do, and then optimize it, and send it back into the next step of AI or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Am I thinking about that right? Is that kind of
So we're hiring and growing right now. So I mean, there might be a place for you here on the team. So that was very, very well.
Right
I'm either
on.
making 100% complete sense, or you did your homework beforehand. So either way, it's much appreciated.
Likewise. I'm searching for clarity, just like the rest of us, man. So, all right, you do what you do. You've explained that, I think, really well. Where do you see the challenges for Microseismic? Where do you see its growth? We talk about carbon sequestration, karst identification. You got geothermal coming through. You got oil and gas still doing what it does, and the backbone of a lot of things we do. How do you see Microseismic going over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, I see us being the energy and environmental services monitoring company.
Nice.
The kind of what's common across all of those solutions and offerings that you just mentioned that we are taking to market is that they all need to be monitored, right? All of those projects. And there's kind of macro trends that are pushing that. And one is obviously the environment, climate change, the need to just really make sure that the projects that we are operating are efficient and safe. And all of that comes through automation and monitoring the assets.
Right.
And the other thing that, so where are we going to be in that space? We have cornered the market on monitoring subsurface, and I want us to be the one-stop shop. So through partnerships right now, we're extending up the value chain in each one of our solutions. So in the carbon space, we designed an autonomous continuous monitoring solution for carbon storage.
Wow.
Through a grant through the DOE.
Oh, nice.
Right? So we know how to do that. And now we want to go up and the assets above the ground, use monitoring technology to ensure environmental compliance, safe operations.
Wow.
So pumps, compressors, whatever is going to be up there.
It is, yeah.
And then walk right down the pipelines where that carbon's going to come from. And monitor those assets as well, all the way back to the acquiring source, right?
Wow.
So we have EverAware for the GHG and operational efficiencies, and we partnered up with Terra 15 for fiber technology.
Isn't that
cool?
Can
run down the pipeline. So we want operators and companies to call us when they start a project because we feel like we can be the end-to-end value chain monitoring company.
Yeah. Well, you're building projects today. It sounds like that's using it, and the proven results are you're doing it, right? So the product of the results from this DOE grant and these partnerships you're making are gonna be the solution for someone who's like, hey, I'm in a new area. We're in the middle of Colombia or whatever it is.
Right.
It's international,
right?
And because that. One of the takeaways that I'm getting so far in this event is that internationally things seem to be going bananas.
Right.
A lot of excitement outside of the United States.
Yes.
Inside the United States is challenging. A lot of regulatory issues and different things is what I'm getting so far from this event. People are saying, go to another country and it's game on. These companies have the budget, they have the project, they have an area where they need to develop. And it's go in there and do it right.
Right.
Limit all the mistakes that we made back in the day developing our own country. And we did a pretty damn good job, if you ask me.
Right, yes.
Now we can go into these countries that haven't developed yet, run fiber on all this stuff, right? From Jump Street, run fiber from the reservoir to the tanks to the infrastructures and the buildings. Can you imagine what the future cities could look like and the monitoring?
Yes, I can. That's in the plan.
That's it.
That's the vision. You got it.
All right. I'm in, man. I'm along for that ride.
Yeah, it's exciting times, right? Because, the technology is there now. So I cut my teeth in data years ago, and it was kind of my specialty as I was working in the IT consulting business. And the problem 15 years ago, 20 years ago, is just compute power and how expensive it was.
Yeah.
Right? And trying to build out these systems to be able to manage all this data. Well, now
it's possible.
That's real. We have the compute power now, and we have the ability to ingest data at real time using these new technologies like fiber.
Yeah.
And the cost of those
are realistic.
Right. It's all come down now. So it's completely feasible. And the other thing that is going on in, especially the oil and gas industry, but really all industries, is we've got a huge labor challenge.
Yeah.
COVID for the oil and gas industry, when it hit, people left the industry and they haven't come back at the pace that they usually come back when we have a downturn.
Whoa.
And Google will track the searches for jobs, and you can go and look at people searching for oil and gas jobs and the price of oil, and usually it's parallel, right?
Sense.
So the price drops, the searches go down.
Yeah.
Well, the prices come back.
Searches
it's been back, and the searches are not there anymore. So it's validation, using technology to understand that market, and it's happening across, other industrial type industries, right? So labor skills in the U.S., especially plumbers and welders,
electricians,
and they're just like kids aren't entering those industries as fast and as much. So the only option is automation. We've got to have automation at scale, and for us, that automation is monitoring, right?
Right. Yeah. That's how you. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
If you don't have anybody that kind of knows it anymore, you just lay you lay it all down, and you can monitor it all, and that's kind of crazy to think about. You kind of blew my mind at the end of this short segment. What's happening there? Either way, I'm following Microseismic Inc. I'm reading the technical papers that you guys are doing. I would love to see a lot more of your vision and your perspective and your information and knowledge that you hold on all kinds of different subjects. I would love to see more of that. They don't do white papers for that, but maybe giving talks, like keynote speaker at some of these events we have coming up.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. It's fascinating because you really see the business side of things and the reality of things, as well as trying to really understand the technical side of things too. You have Dr. John McKenna, who knows the ins and outs of exactly how the monitoring's working and what is it seeing and what do we think we understand from that, and then how to apply it in the real world. You're seeing that, and I think it's something there with Microseismic Inc. If developing a series that's following this story, it's almost like its own Netflix documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you guys are doing it, and I want to stay in tune with that, and I got to figure out a way to how to do that. That's efficient.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we want you to be a part of it. Yeah.
Right
definitely.
on.
Sure.
Well, Gary, thank you so much, Presidente.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This was awesome. Thank you for your time. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. It's a good event. All right.
Right on.
Thanks.